So I wanted to do a quick video specifically on long-term travel health insurance for those that are digital nomads, just traveling the world for a long time, or settling down in a place outside of their home country. It's also known as expat insurance. Let's be clear from the start, this video is pretty heavily focused on Americans since our healthcare system is uber complex and probably the most expensive in terms of insurance. If you're not American, I definitely think you could still get something out of this video, but I won't blame you if you decide to turn it off. If you're completely unfamiliar with health insurance or travel insurance, check out my other two videos. I cover one all about the Affordable Care Act and quitting your job to travel or work outside the United States. And I have another video on specifically travel insurance, both short-term and long-term, as well as multi-trip insurance. But today's video is going to be specifically for those who need long-term insurance. And when I say long-term, I'm talking about traveling for 6 months or more or multiple years at a time. For my last video, I made this handy spreadsheet that I'm going to open up again, and you're welcome to make copies for your own personal use. You can go in and copy it from Google Drive. I show you how to in my last video, and there is a link to it down in the description. What people refer to as travel insurance is actually two different types of insurance. There's travel insurance, which covers things like lost luggage, delays, cancellations, all those sorts of things. And then there's your medical insurance, which is like typical medical insurance. I talk more about the differences in my other videos, so take a look at those. When you're traveling full-time, travel insurance is really not the concern. It's not as big of a deal if you get delayed a full day. It's not going to ruin your whole trip since you're traveling for a whole year. So you don't really need recovery for a lost day. And a lot of times you're only traveling once a month or maybe not at all. So having a baggage loss is not something you need covered. But maybe it is. And in some cases you can get both the travel and the medical. So we'll take a closer look at the spreadsheet to see what exactly would be right for you. In most cases, what you need as an expat is travel medical insurance. The bad news is this is more expensive than just regular travel insurance for delays in baggage and things like that. The good news is it does cover actual medical and dental expenses as opposed to just emergencies. And it is less expensive than healthcare in the United States. That's right, if you're traveling abroad, you can get comparable health insurance to what we get here in the United States, and it actually costs less because you're not living here in the US. There is one catch, however, that I talk about in full detail in my healthcare video. But that is that you need to be outside the United States for at least 330 days a year, or you'll also need health insurance here in the US. Expat or long-term medical insurance does not cover the Affordable Care Act, so it's not considered credible coverage, and you'd actually have to have additional insurance here in the US. But if you will be outside the United States for 330 or more days of the year, then you do not need to have ACA credible coverage. And remember, it's up to you whether or not you want to have ACA credible coverage. You'll just have to pay a penalty on your taxes if you don't. Most of the medical insurance options that I'll show you do cover you when you come home to visit the United States. If you're just worried about having insurance, you should be all set if you have medical insurance. However, if you just get regular travel insurance that just covers emergencies, sometimes it doesn't cover you if you're within 100 miles of your home or in your home country, period. In my spreadsheet here, I reviewed a few different options. Since the last video, I've divided it into 3 sections here at the bottom. I'm focusing on the long-term medical tab. Basically, this is insurance you can get for 365 days at a time, and it can be renewed. In some instances, the plans are only paid annually. In others, you can get them for just a certain amount of months. In order to make accurate comparisons, I tried to put all the pricing in as an annual price. The first half of this list consists of travel insurance companies that also offer a bit of medical coverage. You can tell because as you scroll over, you'll see yeses under a lot of the travel options. Things like interruption, cancellation, delays in baggage, and sometimes also you'll find identity theft or rental car coverage. If you're relatively healthy and plan to frequently rent cars, one of these options may be for you. Also, keep in mind the reviews of some of these companies. For example, I have heard that making a claim with World Nomads is extremely difficult and frustrating. However, you'll want to look into each of them yourself. If you want or need medical insurance that's comparable to what you've had in the United States, you'll need to scroll down and look at something like Geo Blue Travel or Cigna Global. These have benefits like regular doctor and dental visits, where many of the travel insurance companies above only cover emergencies. You can hover over cells with the black marker to see notes I've made. I recommend visiting the websites linked here and calling the numbers I've provided yourself to confirm everything you see. When you see blank cells, it means I'm not sure if they offer this benefit. The dashed lines mean they do not offer the benefit. I've tried to call most of these companies directly, however some of the reps didn't really seem to understand their own insurance benefits. Not a great sign. And some, like AAA, I haven't had a chance to call. An additional criterion I haven't mentioned is your destination. If you'll be living or traveling in a second or third world country, insurance may be more expensive or not available from some carriers. Be sure you let them know where you'll be going before you sign up. Personally, I've decided to go with Cigna Global. Their reps were the most knowledgeable of those I've called, and because they are a medical insurance company, they have an extremely large network of hospitals and doctors worldwide, many of which will bill Cigna directly, so I won't have to worry about claims. They've just recommended calling before any visit, if it's not an emergency obviously, so they can confirm if the doctor is in network. Technically with this insurance, you can go to any doctor and the costs are the same. In this case, being in network just means that Cigna has a relationship with the doctor and will bill them directly instead of me. Additionally, Cigna does cover you for 45 days before you leave for your trip and up to 180 days back in the United States at any point during the year you're gone. This video was in no way sponsored by Cigna or any other insurance company, so all this information provided was done with my own research and without any particular bias to a particular company. You'll notice the companies that are primarily medical insurance have quite a large rate range between the different options. And this is because you can have different deductibles, different max amount covered, different cost sharing. It works very similar to regular medical insurance. So again, it's a lot more confusing than others, but the coverage is a lot greater. For example, evacuations, Cigna will pay the entire thing in full no matter what it's for. Whereas you'll see some others, coverage is up to $1 million. If we look at something like Alliance Travel, it's only up to $250,000. World Nomads is a bit more expensive, so it covers $300,000 or $500,000 depending on your plan. Again, the plans and benefits from a travel insurance-based company are going to be less expensive and more straightforward. However, the medical benefits are going to be more comprehensive and allow you to take regular doctor visits, have prescription coverage, and things like that if you go with a medical insurance company. Another thing to point out, as I mentioned in my other video, is that there are alcohol exclusions with a lot of travel insurance companies. So if the medical problem that you have is due to drinking too much or drug abuse or something like that, you will not be covered with travel insurance. Medical insurance doesn't have these types of exclusions typically. So you'll notice if you come down here, you don't have to worry about that. Now the Schengen region, if you're looking for a Schengen visa, most of these will actually allow you to get a Schengen visa. You'll want to just make sure you get the right amount of coverage. So I put in here a little note here about what you need for Schengen visa coverage. Even if you don't require a Schengen visa, which US citizens do not actually require the visa, some countries do still want you to have insurance coverage. So I'd recommend making sure you have some sort of insurance coverage when you travel around Europe. If you have questions or want more details on any particular area or need clarification, first check out the other travel insurance video that I did, but also please feel free to comment below and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Again, these are just some of the options you may want to look into when you're looking at travel and medical insurance. Make sure you do your research and you can start with some of the options that I listed on this spreadsheet. If you have other options that you've looked into that you think would be better, please go ahead and comment in the description below and I will add them into the spreadsheet for others to take a look at. Thanks for joining me. Please comment, like, subscribe to the channel if you're interested in more information about travel and business lessons or following along on my journey as I travel across Europe starting in January of 2018. Thanks for joining me and stay tuned.